So Bucks and Brews back with you again this week, and we are going to talk about budgeting because that's something Nick and I hit really hard. And if you're a follower on our YouTube channel, we've talked about budgeting through the pandemic, budgeting for 18 months of the pandemic, but we've never sat down and just talked about normal everyday budgeting that everybody does. So that's what we're going to hit on today. I'm going to go with what I'm drinking, and I know Nick's going to give another shout out to our sponsor from last week. But first off, I'm drinking Atwater's Vanilla Java Porter. And if I get done with that, I've got Pigeon Hill's Salted Caramel Porter. So I'm a porter night tonight, Nick.
There you go. I say, again, we do want to give a big shout out to for our sponsor last week, right? We had a great cider in front of us. We appreciate that. Anybody else that wants to throw it out to us, let us know. This week, go back to a sponsor from my brother. He's working over in Wisconsin. So one thing that's really cool to me is these caps are 100% recyclable. Hipster me. But today I have Octillion Oktoberfest. Really cool artwork there. And that's from Ale Asylum in Madison, Wisconsin. So really, really excited. I want to give a shout out to my brother again. Thanks for the sponsorship. I love that he gives feedback and rewards me with some beer once in a while. So thanks again. And again, any business, anything that you guys do, right? We'll gladly talk about your product, talk about what your service is, and we always we don't mind getting paid in a beer or two. So.
That's the big shout out again to Michigan Wine Company. We really appreciate last week. And if Comcast would like to sponsor us at some point here, it looks like the internet's a little wonky tonight. So if we're cutting out, maybe Comcast will throw us a little bit extra internet sometime.
Dude, think about that, right? Like we just offer amazing podcast and not have any glitching, and I don't run things off my cell phone. Say if anybody knows anybody, any internet that works great, let us know, and we'll try it out.
Yes, we will. So budgeting, Nick, we hit that all the time, really, really hard.
We do.
Why is it so important? I want your thoughts on why it's so important.
Well, so budgeting to me is a written communication to know exactly where your money is and what it's doing, right? When you can physically see it, compared to in your mind, where you're like, hey, I know I have some money and things like that. When you actually write it down, you know what you can spend on what, and you know, hey, if I have goals, I can reach them because this is what my budget shows. It tells me if I'm overspending. It tells me, everybody has so many different situations in life, man. We could sit here, we could have a whole podcast just on things that we would buy, hey, can I buy this car? Can I buy this house? Can I, we could do this all night. So a budget tells you everything you need to know about your financial success or failures, right? It'll open your eyes to say, hey, I didn't even know I was spending this. So budgeting to me is really key.
So I did a financial consult a few weeks back, and I reached out to my friend and I'm like, hey, just wanted to check in on you, see how things are going. What have you learned? What is working? What's not working? And she goes, well, I did what you said. I wrote down a budget. I started tracking where my spending's going. She goes, never realized how much money we spent eating out. Yeah. I said, yeah, that's something that, now that you see it, what do you think? She goes, yeah, we're cutting way back on that. There's no reason to eat out as much as we do. I know how to cook. It's cheaper to cook. It just wasn't in front of my face before, so I never thought about it. And that's really why budgeting is so important. I mean, you hit it on the head, Nick. You're writing down what you're doing, so you're also keeping yourself accountable. As in, I can spend $500 on groceries this month and food, and if you spend $550, okay, well, I got an issue. That $50 has to come from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and then our big thing is we are not you and I, right? We don't tell people not to spend money. We tell people to spend money, right? If you have it, spend it if you want to, but no, you have to have the ability to spend it. And that's what we do is we show you, hey, here's things that we can do to get you more money. it's not a brag, right? You're talking about going out to eat. Like my brother had a really bad day the other day, so we went out to a brewery and had dinner. And right with tip, I dropped $100. I mean, I could have ate at home. I had tacos tonight for dinner, and that cost me like what? I don't know, $7, right? Like, but fed the whole family. So it's if you want to do things, like do it. We're not, if you want that new car, if you're excited about it, like just know that you need to budget for it, right? Like I'm not the person to judge. I'm tired of people saying, "Hey, why don't you have a house but you have a $50,000 truck?" Right? Dude, like if a house doesn't make you happy because you hate the maintenance and you hate the stress of it, but this truck that, again, you'll probably hate it once it starts breaking down in 10 years or 7 years, whatever it takes, but if it makes you happy, man, who am I to stop you from doing that, right? Like, David, if you want to, do your dress up stuff and getting your, like, who am I to stop you from buying a costume? Like, I'm not that, I want people to enjoy life, and I want to teach you how you can enjoy life and still have financial success.
Well, and a good story here. So, for those of you on the podcast that don't know, I went away on Monday into Tuesday, went and stayed at a really nice hotel with a swimming pool in the room. So it was expensive. And my wife and I got there, we checked in, we ran to the liquor store to, get some drinks for the night. That way we, had stuff. And we were driving back to the hotel, and she goes, "What are we doing about dinner? Are we going to pick it up? Is it going to be far away?" And I'm like, "Screw it, let's just order it in, and we'll have it delivered." If I've had food delivered to me 10 times in my life, that's probably 8 more times than it's actually happened. Okay, nobody ever delivers food to me. I'll just go get it. But I told her, I'm like, "Listen, it's a little mini vacation. Let's just have them bring it to us. I know it's going to cost us more money. We tipped the driver $10. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was worth it to me just
No.
to have that little bit of convenience, and I don't have to go anywhere."
Yeah, and that's huge. We talked about in the vacation thing, like my wife and I for vacations. I mean, you guys, like, right? Money technically isn't an issue or an option at that point. Like whatever we want, right? Like I've been in. I remember being, in Dominican and like, hey, I want that coconut. I don't care how much it costs. Like, so, but I'll pay for convenience. I'll pay for what I want. So you know, we know that. I mean, we get a lot of feedback from. We're a little. I mean, you're a little older. I always hang out with older people, but they tend to watch our some good feedback.
Yep.
We also gear towards the. I'm 32, so I mean I still have the younger friends that are giving me feedback. So David, you have a daughter who's turning 27 here soon, which means medical's kind of going away. So David wrote up a little spreadsheet, Excel budget, talking about what it looks like for what she's going to kind of have here really soon, right? And when you look at it, we're like, hey, this is a normal person who's going to college, who's trying to better their future. So
Well, and I'm sharing my screen now. So those of you that are just listening, if you want to see this, you're going to have to go to the YouTube video. If you need a budget, contact us, reach out. We'll give you a template that you can use. This is just a basic template. Threw in some numbers here. Some of them are accurate, some of them are not. But when you're looking at this, for the pretend person that I have on here, which I did base a lot of this on my daughter, who's will be 26 and drop off my insurance in April. Figure 2,000 a month take home pay, which is probably about $500 more than she makes. But for numbers, I like even numbers. Figure she makes $20 in interest, which she might make a little more. And then $40 in other income, whether that's some of the apps that we use or picking up an odd job or something. Everybody has some kind of extra money that comes in somehow. You find a $5 bill laying around something. Now, because she's still in school, I have
also
tuition.
and so
Go ahead, Nick.
no, I say and that's right. Not everybody's making this kind of money. Other people are making well above this kind of money, right? So I mean, this is just a basic. Hey, if you're a person that's working at working to kind of get through college, you're not in your dream job yet. This is a basic person just working right now. So
and I kind of tailored this towards her, which is why we have tuition and books on here, because she's still in college. And then some of the other stuff she has, she has car insurance, she has a car payment for another couple of months, and then that's paid off. And if you look at January over here, you can see that, after this month's worth of bills are paid, she has $45 left over, this pretend person, because, I don't know what her budget totally looks like. She takes care of that now. I just advise. But the nice thing about this is it adds everything up for you. So, if we want to play with numbers in May, and let's say we only make 1,500 in May, and other things are down, we make less money. Now we know that, that has to be tailored some way. Maybe, that's a month that she's not going to school. She takes 8-week terms. So maybe she's not going to school in May and June to help make that up. And instead of having those payments, the car's gone by that time. So we look at the other bills that are there. And a lot of these are going to be inconsistent. That's what happens. Your gas is never the same every month.
Yeah, and especially like, I think almost every state, right? Your gas bill for your heating your house is a little higher in the winter and really low in the summer, and so everything has chances to fluctuate, right? So things I'm seeing on here when we look at it is, right, we have groceries, right, for $500. Well, I guess if this is a single person, that's substantially high, right, for groceries. If it's a person with a couple of kids, then we're probably hitting that, right? We're basing this off of one income. Everything is able to, but the big thing with this spreadsheet is we want to show you, hey, all right, so if you're in this situation, right now, David, you have just those numbers in, so you take school off, and we're minus $65. So we look at it and say, okay, our rent can't change, right? I mean, we're signing a lease for that. We're not moving at that exact minute. Our utilities, right? They're probably not going to change, right? We're gonna pay the same thing. Internet, can you go without internet for that month? I mean, okay, well, car insurance, right? It's gonna stay. Unless you call and get it lower, but you have time into that. So, right, our biggest thing here is this food. So, you know what? We've talked about how to budget on food and things like that in an episode. It's like, all right, instead of ordering out pizza or going out to eat, guess what? This is probably where we're hitting right here is 500. We're not going out to eat, this month as many times. I mean, if it's a family, you've probably saved your $65 right there for one time. If it's a single person, yeah, probably two, right? I mean, if you're buying drinks, things like that, so you have to figure it out, right? Medical insurance. So she's gonna have to pay for her own private medical insurance here soon. Some people don't even have that, but if you do, right, you're gonna have to build that in. Prescription medication. Always get your medication. Make sure you take care of yourself. I mean, your health is the biggest key. Granted, coming from guys who are not the healthiest looking, right? But I mean, health is taking care of your balance and doing whatever else. Like that's a big thing, right? Take care of your body so that way you can enjoy the money. Miscellaneous. I think miscellaneous are always going to happen, right? There's going to be that time where I don't care. You're going to say, let's say we're in December. You're gonna give money to the Salvation Army every time they ring the bell. I mean, those pennies and dollars add up. So,
looking at this, if you're keeping a budget year after year, you have some idea of what each month's going to look like. Okay, so if you know that hours are trimmer in May, or something comes up in May that you're not working as much as normal and you're going to make less money, you can make adjustments there. And like Nick said, food's a great place to look at. As a single person, could you get along on $200 a month, Nick? I think you could.
Yeah, I honestly like we've done it. I mean, even as two of us, right? And people always say bull crap, and about that and that food thing. Like David, like do hot dogs go very far. Do
Mhm.
we like to eat hot dogs every day? Is it healthy every day? No. We talked about eating a head of lettuce, right? Cut it into fourths. I mean, $1, so 25 cents per serving. Like we talked about these things. Like, is it fun to eat a lettuce or a salad that doesn't have, your ham, your pepperoni, your cheese, your everything? I mean, if we're in the middle of winter, we're probably not having our fresh tomatoes from our garden and things like that. No, you have a basic salad, right? Like that's what so can you do it? Yes, it can be done. I've done it. Ramen noodles. Yeah, they're up in price. Everybody always jokes they're 15 cents. What? I mean, I don't know. I think they're 30 cents now, right? So I mean they've doubled, but you can still make this happen. Yeah, I'm not saying buy cup of noodle, right?
Yeah, so I
You
mean,
have a bowl at home that you can wash. um,
so
it's
so if we look at this, and the thing I like about this is I set it up so that it changes. So, oh, good, we have internet connection unstable again. Can you see me, Nick? He's froze. That's fantastic. So I'll just keep talking because my computer is recording currently. So, if we scale that back in May to $200 for the groceries, then it turns it from red back to black, and now we have a little bit more money to play with. So, those.
all right. Sorry, what were you saying, David? I lost you there for a second.
You did. I don't know if we are still recording. Look at that.
Yeah.
I might have to splice this one up. So what I was saying was the nice part about that spreadsheet that I put together, which I'll go and share it again, is, I set it up in a way that it will change color depending on whether you're in the black for the month or in the red for the month. So if I adjust that food bill for May to $200, now, we're positive 235 for the month instead of being negative like we were a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing to me, I mean, you could change colors, right? And if you don't know how I'm horrible at technology, right? So if you don't know how to set the spreadsheet up, we can help you. Reach out to us and say, hey, how do I do this? But David, if you go to the bottom where it says like net difference or total, it's self-adding,
Yep.
right? So if you don't know how to put in that, right? There's YouTube videos, right? How to auto sum, right? Just like look that up. How to auto sum on Excel, and it'll teach you how to do the codes. The big thing is to stay out of the red. And if you see a month that you're going into red, you need to know that you need to have savings to get there.
Yeah, and really what you should be doing with these things. So we had we were positive 45 in January, right? So that money carries over. You don't necessarily pay attention to that carryover, but you know that was $45 plus last month. I've been $45 plus in February, and I'm $90 over. So you can spread that hit out that you've now taken of $65 and say, yeah, but I'm only down, $35 or $30 or whatever it is for that period of time instead of, what you actually are down. When I originally set this up for my daughter, she kept looking at it going, December looks horrible. I'm like, yeah, you paid a tuition bill. You didn't make anything in December. That's life.
Yeah.
But you don't have a tuition bill in January. So, instead of, because she lived at home and I paid most of the bills, instead of separating what tuition would be each month, she just had that in for that one payment that she had to make at that time. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of money's gone.
Yep. Well, it's, I mean, I like to have a big amount come out at once because I hate those stupid monthly withdrawals, right? So, and again, usually if I pay for a full year, I get a discount. Lately, I haven't been able to get that. I don't know why companies aren't letting me pay for a full year or giving me a discount, I guess. I mean, they'll let me pay, right? But they won't give me the discount. So, yeah, I think, if you're a younger person and you don't have rent, right, get rid of it. You have all that money. But now the big thing that this teaches us is if we're living at home, right, do yourself a favor and save 90% of that, right? Take 10% of it and put it towards the miscellaneous, call it a bar expense or put it towards your food, whatever you want to do. I don't care, but my goal is 90% savings, right? Investing, we didn't have a line in there for investing,
Nope.
and that's, we always talk about, hey, like, what could we do? And we're trying to make you money. So, right, like that $45, you need to get to that spot where, hey, at the end of the year, you're showing a savings. So then you're going to take all that you're planning, take 50% of it and put it over to an investment, because, the other 50% has to go in case you have a medical emergency, or if you have something come up that, you're on unexpected things. But I mean, easily 50% needs to go over into it, right? You need to save. But living at home, plan what your mortgage payment's going to be in the future. I mean, if you're the kid that's thinking, hey, I want $1 million house right away, do plan for that, right? Like, stay at home until you're however old, but man, put 90% of that money away, and eventually you'll be like, man, I have a substantial amount of money. So,
Well, I think the big thing, I said this to my daughter. I felt the same way when I was growing up. Live at home as long as you can if the bills are paid. As long as you can stand your parents, stay
yep,
there, because they're willing to pay for stuff. Now, with me, I was probably about 23, and I just, I had to get the hell out, and I got the hell out, and I did my own thing. With Caitlin, she was 24. Yeah, 'cause she hadn't turned 25 yet, and it was at the point of, if she doesn't go, we're going to kill each other, so she needs to go. And she went and got her own place, and yeah, if she stayed 2 more years, I kept telling her, before we got to that point, I'm like, if you could wait until your car's paid off, that's $200 more a month in your budget.
yeah,
And she's like, yeah, I don't want to wait that long. Okay, well, then you just know for those months you're struggling because you're $200 less than what you're going to have.
yeah. So, and she was smart. She had savings going into it, so, she was ready for it. I've had friends stay home till they're 35. Go out and buy a house. I personally moved out, right? I got married at 20, 21. So I mean, I moved out at 20, bought my first house. Like, it's just a matter of where you're sitting in life. Like, your biggest financial thing will almost always be a place to live, right? On your own. I hear it all the time. Hey, I just can't wait to leave. I can't wait to move out. Man, I the only reason I did it because I had a wife, right? I could have stayed home, and my mom worked different shifts. We never seen each other. It's like I had a house to myself, and half the time she paid for all the food anyway. So, I was spoiled in that little aspect of things. But and we got along, and we still get along, which is great. Um, you know, I think the biggest thing tonight that we need to focus on is having you guys write it down, right? I always have. I mean, I'm reaching for it, but like I have a sticky note pad, right? Like, I constantly. If you were to ever like come to my house, you'll see how much money I have or don't have, because it's written on my whiteboard. I constantly write down like how much I owe on places, how much I'm spending. Like, I do my budget just all the time on like paper, and like, hey, this is where I want to be. Like, I have a goal set right now for a financial end of the year goal, because I felt like I haven't had goals in a while. I was like, man, I gotta set something up for myself. And yeah, I have a goal to buy a place, but it's like, all right, what do I want financially in cash going into 2021? So like, I wrote the number down. I just wrote it on a piece of paper, and I was like, this is what I want. And like, now I'm like, all right, my focus is on getting this financial, this cash and making it happen. So, my wife knows, hey, this is what we're going to do. So when she goes, hey, do you want to go out to eat? I'm going to say no. If she wants to, she can spend it out of her money, type of a thing, but I mean, it's, I have a goal in mind that I want to hit. So, my wife right now, she's saving for furniture, and yeah, I'll pitch in and do whatever, but I'm not gonna go finance it. That's for sure. So,
Well, and that's one of the things you have to look at, what's important to you, and that's how you have to tailor that budget. So we're writing things down. I've been pretty transparent since Nick and I started doing this stuff back in, I don't know, April or May, whenever it was, and I've shown my budget, and I've shown, what I have coming in, going out, and what have you. And when you look at what I have there, there's obviously room to trim because, you know, we went through the budgeting through the pandemic and I trimmed a whole bunch of stuff off of my budget. I think I started at like 5,500 a month and I'm down under 5,000 a month in bills because you just figure, okay, well, I got to cut something. So this is not going to happen anymore. And, you know, that's just kind of what happens is you figure out, okay, this is important. This isn't. Now, obviously I've had some extra money because I haven't been doing a lot of the extra stuff that we do every year because, you know, COVID, you can't go do stuff anyways. So, you know, my entertainment this year, besides going to work, was going over to Nick's house and jumping in the pool.
Yeah.
Which
I'll tell you,
I love going to Nick's house and I love jumping in the pool, but you know,
well, that's you know, I mean, but you saved enough money. You budgeted for the past what 6 months? I mean,
Yeah.
so you said you went from 5,500 to 5,000, and you know, you just went on a mini vacation. So let's say you spent 1 month worth of that savings. You still have 5 months in savings, you
Yep.
know, added up right there. You know, I did the same thing, right? So I normally go on a family vacation. I normally go to, you know, a Nick vacation to go bowling and stuff like that. I didn't do any of that, right? So now it's like, oh man, I like having it, and I know that it's going to come back here. But if I can plan ahead and still come away ahead, you know, that'd be great for me. You know, we talk about it all the time. My budget is very, very small. I run internet off my cell phone. You know, I don't have many things that I can cut, but the biggest thing I can cut is food, right? I could go out, like when the pandemic hit, like we ate at home so much. I mean, I didn't realize my bank account went up so much because I stopped going out to eat. You know, I was like, holy crap, like this is a big item, right?
well, in addition to eating out, I mean, you know, like, so this summer I got hooked on Nathan's hot dogs, which are like $1 a piece. Okay. You buy them in the store, they're like $4.30 and you get 5 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Nick, we probably ate hot dogs at your house at least half a dozen times, right?
Oh, at least.
How much did you pay for those hot dogs?
So it was $4 for 5 packs because we bought two, get three for free. Right. So what, like 80 cents a pack? So that turns out to 10 cents a hot dog.
Yeah.
And then I think I bought cheap buns for, let's say 80 cents, you know, or let's say $1. I don't care. So yeah, we had 25-cent meals. So, you know, and per person, right? So I mean, in general, like I fed my whole family for $1.50. So, because God knows I'm not just gonna eat one hot dog, right? I mean, let's
Right.
be honest with that. You know, so I had 50 cents myself. So
And when you look at it, yeah, they, you know, are they the best hot dogs in the world? No, not necessarily, but they're
hey,
filling.
we had ballparks this year because they were on sale like crazy.
Yeah, and it's filling.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, if you're needing to trim money, you find stuff that's filling. You eat rice, you eat noodles, you eat hot dogs,
Yep.
beans, because those things are relatively inexpensive and they will fill you up. Like Nick said, lettuce.
Yep.
No calories really, very filling. Not a ton of taste.
But I mean, you know, eat a quarter head of lettuce, you're pretty full.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, you know, I say, guys, if you're young, your dreams are probably not, you know, probably not to buy this big house or whatever, right? It's probably to get your car. Or, you know, if you're in an activity, you want to buy something for that activity, right? Baseball bats, softball bats are $500. I mean, they're out of control nowadays, but it's fine. Like all I'm saying is budget for it, right? So if you're 16 years old and you go to a part-time job and you bring home $200, like, you know, every paycheck, so 4 weeks will get you $400. I mean, if you're saving half of it, like we talk about, I mean, put the other half away. You know, I'm not going to stop you from buying those things. You know, when you buy a car, everybody is like, oh, I want this car, but then they forget that the more expensive the car, the more expensive the insurance, usually, right? The tabs are going to be expensive. These are all things, you know, just to think about when you're going to buy things. So save up for it. You know, if you can pay cash for it, I'm happy with it. But So one of my biggest things, right? I financed a vehicle before, and we got to, we go in on this month and we're talking, all right, hey, we want this specific car, and they're like, hey, it's $240. No, I want a $200 payment. No, oh, well, hey, lower the price, and I try to negotiate. So then we walk away and we go save more money, and we're like, all right, hey, we want this car. We have this much to put down. Oh, $208. Nope, I need it at 200. Like, oh, well, you can't walk away. It's $8. What's it? No, $8 is a lot to me. Like, I want 200, right? Like that. And so, we ended up getting, I think we had a $180 payment or something by the end of it because we waited long enough, and car came down in price and everything like that. So I think,
Well,
the big thing is know what your numbers are and what you're comfortable paying.
yeah, and you have to stick to that. You can't be eager. You can't sit there and say, well, I really want this. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really
I
want
could,
it, that's great, pay for it. But if you really want it at your price, you're going to have to be willing to walk away from it.
Yep. And the only way you can do that is having a budget and knowing what you spend and what you can afford. You're just telling yourself I can afford it. You're going to get to a point where you're going to enjoy it for enough time until you realize that you're not going out with your buddies on a constant, right? You're not showing off that vehicle. You're not showing off that brand new watch that you just bought. I don't know what all these things nowadays, right? But just know that, hey, when you buy something, you stop doing something else, right? So make sure that that something else that you're giving up is something that you're willing to give up. You know, if you're the type of person, and I don't say sit at home and watch Netflix, because I'm the person that says go enjoy life and understand what the world looks like, right? So my gas budget in my vehicle is astronomical compared to most people, because I always drive everywhere. I fly out to the West Coast, but if it's anything east of the Mississippi, I've even gone across the Mississippi, but like, for the most part, like if it's within 15 hours, I'm probably driving to it. God, I was in South Dakota, so that was like 18. So I can't, I drive everywhere, and it's wear and tear on the vehicle, but I love my car and I enjoy driving it. So, just know that the only way I know how to do that, the only way I can do that is by budgeting and knowing, hey, I do have enough money to spend on this, and I know that I need to cut back on certain things, right? If we gear up for, if we gear up for vacation, normally we're like, hey, let's eat at home, eat at home, eat at home, because we're going to eat out the next full week or two, because we're not going to eat. I've gone to a hotel one time, and I went to the store and bought food, and that was just to make a charcuterie board, right? Like, because we ended up we had friends with us or whatever, and I didn't technically eat in. Like, I was just like, hey, I'm getting everything to make a charcuterie board. So I spent $150 on meats and cheeses and olives and everything like that, so everybody else enjoyed the time. So, but I've never, even if it's pizza that I order and I order it in, like if I'm away, I don't want to do anything I do at home, right? Like I guess maybe before I go to bed, I might turn the TV on just to see what the weather's going to be tomorrow, but that's about it. Like, I have a phone that can do that, but for some sound or just relaxation real quick.
Well, see, Nick and I are real similar in that fact. When you're on vacation, you're on vacation. You don't worry about what you're spending. You just spend it. If you want to do something you don't normally do, you do it. I remember Dawn and I talked about this while we were gone the other day. We went to Hawaii when Caitlin was 16. And one of the things we did there is, you do all the touristy stuff the first time you go to Hawaii. So we did the touristy stuff the first day. They show you all the packages you can buy. They take you to Maui Divers. They take you to Hilo Hatties, whatever. So we go to Maui Divers, and Caitlin's really interested in the pearls, and that she wants to buy a pearl. A pearl's like $13. I'm like, whatever. If you want to buy a pearl, I don't give a shit. So she buys it. And of course, it's just a pearl. You have to do something with it. You have to put it in jewelry. So the jewelry is like $100. All right, I'm into this for $115. Whatever. My wife flipped out. We fought for like 3 hours about this stupid pearl. And when she finally came to her senses, I said, listen, I'm on vacation. We're going to buy stupid stuff. It's an experience. She had an experience. She wanted to buy a pearl. She bought a pearl. I don't really care. You know what she did with the pearl, Nick?
She probably doesn't even have it. Puts it in a nightstand.
She does not have it. She gave it to my mother as a present.
It's a very nice gift.
She knew her grandma would wear it and would enjoy it, and she goes, I got to do that, and that was fun. I really liked, figuring out what the pearl was, because pearls are different colors.
She did the whole shucking of it and everything.
Yeah.
And opening it up. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an experience, and she had that now, and she was so happy.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
So this is, so if you can dream it, we want you to live it. That's what we're talking about when we talk about budget.
Yep.
We've showed you kind of how to tonight, right? Like, hey, take what you actually spend and then itemize it, right? Like, these are things that are never going to go away. That's how. So David's list kind of went a little different than mine does, but mine is like, these are things that are going to be a constant in my life, right? Like, boom, and then these are things that can possibly change. I even with houses, right? I just got my bills for taxes, and all of my places went up, right? And so now I'm spending another, I don't even, just too much money on taxes, So I have to budget another few hundreds of dollars because my taxes went up on all my places, and you have to be prepared for that. So now I either have to go to the tenant and get more money, or I have to go make more money myself. So, it's just know that, like David and I, if we want something, we're going to do what it takes. And if it means eating hot dogs so we can go to Hawaii, we'll eat hot dogs every single day. This is a true thing. If you guys can get my wife to move to Mexico, where tacos are 27 cents on a constant, I think I'm up to, like, I don't know, $380. I'll give you $380 if we officially move to Texas, not just go visit again, but to Mexico. I will give you $380, and that price is going up the more I'm tired of being here. So, I think when budget, that's the thing. I think that's the thing with you and I, David, is like, when we think budget, we think dreams, right?
Yep.
Like, they go so hand in hand. Like, budgeting and dreams are where it's at, because if you don't know how to accomplish your dreams with a financial success, you have to have both to make them happen.
So, full disclosure, I've known Nick since probably 2008, which is what, 12 years?
No, you've known me way longer than that. 8, 7, 6, probably 2004, because I was still in. I graduated in 07, so I umpired like when I was like 15.
Did you? Okay, well, let's say I've known Nick for almost 16 years.
Yeah.
We can fast forward to like 2007, 8. We were doing financial retirement stuff at work, and they were switching plans around, and I remember them saying specifically to me, when do you think you'll retire? And I laughed at them and I said, never. I'm never gonna have the money to retire, so I don't even care. I threw the money in the account. I just didn't figure I'd ever have the money to retire. I really wish that 12, 13, 14 years ago, I would have thought like I think now. So instead of sitting there and going, yeah, I'll just never have the money to retire, I would have written down the budget, and I would have said, okay, this is what I'm spending every day. This is what I'm making. And this is how to get to where I want to be. Because I know how to get to where I want to be now, but I wish I would have known it 15 years ago, because if I knew it 15 years ago, I'm 15 years ahead of where I'm at.
And I think that's what makes me a little bit successful, right? Is like knowing people like you back in the day, knowing other people with that same mentality of like, oh, I'm never going to retire. Or, when people said I'm never going to retire, I always just thought that's sad. Or when people are like, Social Security is not going to be around, like, to me, that just meant like, I have to have my own back. I have to figure out my own things. Like, I have to make sure that I don't do what these people are doing, because, like, you guys know what it's like to be around people like that. They're like, my life, my life's just doing the same and it's just gonna go here. Like if you don't have that goal and that aspiration to like get somewhere, like what do you have? And I have a buddy that like wants to build like an $80,000 Mustang, right? And I'm like, dude, this is what you got to do, right? Like you look at quit looking at $80,000, right? Start like when do you want it done? Now divide that by, however many months. Like, yes, you want it now, but like let's make this realistic. So we take 80,000, we say, hey, 5 years, or let's say 50,000. Let's take it 5 years. So 10,000 a year. Take 10,000, divide it by 12 months, right? So I need $800 every month going into this thing. So we're at like 9,600, right? Just so now we're 5 years we're gonna have that 50,000, but now let's say we can buy parts by parts, right? Like it's not a big deal. You'll still see progress because hey, that your body is going to cost you this much. Your chassis is going to cost you here. I'm doing the same thing with my brother right now. He's building. It's like, oh man, I got to spend $1,200, and it's like, yes, but stop looking at like start giving me $300 a week, and we'll have it in 4 weeks. Like you're not going to save $1,200 in a week. Like just slow your roll. Like figure out, yes, you want it right now, but like what's realistic that you can make this happen now. Take that money and I said we talked like that was one of the biggest things I ever did was when I got my first job. Like I knew I wanted something specific, so I like handed my grandparents money. I was like, hey, can you just hold this $50? Yeah, sure. Okay, like next paycheck, can you hold this $50? And then I was like, I kind of kept track of how much I had, and then I was like, I didn't think about it because I didn't have it, I didn't look at it. So putting that money away, not seeing it, that was huge for me. So right, take whatever your dream is, take however long realistically you want it, and divide it down as low as possible, right? Don't do it if you don't get paid daily. Don't do it daily. I don't love that, right? But like weekly, if you get paid weekly, bi-weekly, figure out exactly how much. Whenever you get a paycheck, that's that. Like your goals and your dreams is your first priority to me, right? Like boom, that's what it is. And then yeah, we always say roof over the head and food, and those are big priorities. But like if you're already stuck in that, you can't really change that unless you sell, unless your goal is bigger than that, right? If your goal is bigger than your house and all that, like cool, then get rid of it and reach this goal, man. Like I'm never gonna stop people from reaching that goal.
Well, and this is great because so Nick, I took a little vacation and we're on the vacation and people are like, well, what did you do? And Dawn and I, we did a lot of swimming, but while we're swimming, we're sitting there and brainstorming ideas for the business. And everybody's like, why would you do that? You're on vacation, just relax and enjoy. See, we don't get to do those things. We don't get to sit there and brainstorm and think about things. And her and I are sitting there going, okay, how can we make this more affordable for people? Okay, so, you come to our place to break stuff, and cheapest package you can get for an individual is $30. And I told Dawn, I'm like, what if we start introducing like a quick short package? And she goes, what do you mean? I'm like 10 bottles for 5 minutes, a walk-in special. If you're having a bad day, you can just walk in, give us, $20. You get 10 bottles, you get 5 minutes, go to town. Because you don't need more than 5 minutes for that.
Oh yeah, dude. Like if you offered me 5 bottles for 5 minutes, well, I wouldn't even need that long. But let's say I'm allotted 5 minutes, so I get enough time to get my bottles, 5 of them, $10. I walk in, just write like F you whoever, and take it and just chuck it at the wall, dude, as hard as I can. By the 5th one, my shoulder's gonna be done. I'm gonna be like, God, that was great. I'm gonna go have a beer. Yep. I now have the other 10. Like, dude, if I could throw a bottle at the wall, or if I could throw 5, like one's not enough, but 5, my shoulder's gonna be fine. I'm gonna chuck them at the wall, and I'm out. Like, dude, that'd be great. Like, but yeah, as you're saying, dude, like you don't when you're doing the daily grind, when you're doing the constant stuff, you don't have that time, or you don't. When you're relaxed, your mind is so different.
Yep, it really is. You have time to sit there and actually evaluate what's going on and what can I do to make things better.
Yeah. Oh, dude. When I'm on vacation, like Courtney gets mad. She'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm thinking about what I want and what my next step is." And she's like, "We're on vacation." I'm like, "Yep, that's why." Because like I see a whole new life. Like I see more than just Grand Rapids, Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, I forget that this is what I want to do. Like I'm just so focused on this. Like, you know, and guys, there's gonna be a time. So this is a true statement. So right now in my life, I have the most liquid cash I've ever had in my life. Um, and I looked at my wife and I said, I know you probably don't understand it, but we have the most money we've ever had, and I've never felt so poor in my life. And she's like, well, I always feel poor or whatever. And I was like, exactly. I was like, we forget that we literally had, that struggle of like $7 in the bank account. And now we have money and we're still in that same boat. So it's like when you go relax, you're like, all right, it takes that away and you go, hey, I'm fine. I just need to refigure out how to make myself comfortable. And like, because once you get into a comfort is always like your worst thing, right? Like because you sit and you don't grow, you don't do anything, you just sit, and sometimes it's the worst thing. So writing down, like that's why I write my budget all the time, is because I'm like, okay, I need this is my budget now. I need my budget to be different, and so that means I need to buy a place or I need to sell a place. I need to do something like we're talking about that right now because I haven't had a job for however long. I've flipped a couple things or whatever, but I haven't like bought something. And so like I feel like I'm in this like circle of like, wait, I was buying the same amount or doing the same amount with a 40-hour week job with a really decent paycheck. Now I have no paycheck and I'm still doing that same thing. Something's wrong. Like I'm still broke. You know what I'm saying? Like so I need to figure that out. And so getting away, even if it's, I don't know. We're fortunate, David, you and I, because we live so close to the dang beach, but we always know that we have to go back home. So if you're planning to like stay away for the whole day, I mean, that's when I guess that's when I turn the TV on, is so that way I have some background noise, so I don't just like kill myself with my own thoughts. Because I mean, even in hotels, like I write down my dreams. I'm like, this is what I want. This is how I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy this hotel. Like, just my mind just starts going. Like, what does it take to buy a hotel? Like, so I think that's step by step, and budgeting is, it'll tell you step by step of what you're doing and how you're doing it. If you're salary, it makes it really easy. If you're hourly, it doesn't make it as easy because you have to, yeah, and right, don't think that so most of your things, right? So look back at last month and input those numbers, but like start this month and say, hey, this is how much I made this week, this month, like put it all together and keep adding it and then go. So I always do mine, or I did mine like weekly. Hey, this is how much I'm bringing in. If I worked overtime, I knew instantly my overtime money would just straight go to savings. Like I lived off of 40 hours, worked 55, 60, but like, so I mean that 40 to 60, like that was all like guaranteed. Like, and then, my wife would be like, hey, let's go. So like I would take a little bit, but like, no, mine was 40 hour. Like everything else was budgeted. And 90%, 99% of people, I don't know what the big percentage is, but like nobody else is doing that I know of, right? Nobody's taking anything 40 and over and actually investing it or putting it into something. Like they will always spend it. There's always that TV. There's like nobody takes that. Like somebody will make a little bit bigger of a payment on their car, but they're not like taking all of it and just shoving it in their car. Right? Like, people want that instant gratification. I've been fortunate enough to not give a crap about gratification because I know I've seen future success. Like I've done enough of it.
You really have to have that long-term game mentality. If you have that long-term game mentality, you can sit there and say, okay, yeah, these little wins, they're really nice and they're really satisfying. But what's going to be more satisfying is getting to where I really want to be. So I know for us, getting away this week was really important to my wife. It was important to me. We could decompress. It was expensive as hell. The money was there. I'm not going to worry about that. We enjoyed what we did. We took our leisurely time. We spent money we wouldn't normally spend, and we owe that all to the budget that we're on because I know what we can go do. If I got a cat that popped sick, which I've had for the last 4 weeks now, I know that, yeah, my vet bills are really, really high, but they take excellent care of her, and You know, I probably spent $2,000 in the last month on vet bills. But I know that I've been budgeting so well that money's there.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's like, you know, I think one of the hardest things for me to watch is that commercial with the lady that goes to get, she has her little daughter with her and she goes to get a prescription and they you know, it comes across as like $180 or something. She's like, oh, that's too much. So then she starts walking away and the lady's like, hey, good RX card or whatever the heck this thing is. And she's like, your new total is like $8. And she's like, that's man, like, I don't ever want that spot. I don't ever want, like, my pets mean a lot to me and my family means so much more. Right? Like, I don't, I, I've dealt with so much of my family where it's like, hey, there's this medical bill, so you can get this procedure, but insurance doesn't cover it. I don't want that to ever be a thing, right? Like, I don't give a shit how much it costs. Like, make it happen, you know. Um, and so budgeting will get me to do that, right, guys? I think honestly, I'm pretty proud of myself for saying it best. Like, budgeting is reaching dreams, right? Like, your dreams is budgeting. Like, they just, they so go hand in hand. Right, we talk about the sponsor last week, right? They you can't open a business without a budget. I mean, you know, we David, you couldn't open the business, right? I mean, you guys opened it. You know, the millions of businesses that I've opened, it's not like I just pull the money out of my butt and just say, here here it is. I mean, maybe the magician thing, right? I kind of did that, but that was that bottom line is some miscellaneous. I'd buy a miscellaneous trick every once in a while, but no. So, you know, but if you want something bad enough, you're gonna, the greatest words. I don't have any tattoos, David. I know you have a bunch, but like, I want to get it, and I haven't figured out where. But like, the words I want is, you know, if you want it bad enough, you'll do what it takes. And those words, I learned them, which is really dumb. We talk about multi-level marketing on one of our episodes, and I was talking to a friend, or back then he became a friend in multi-level marketing. So I listened to a lot of the CDs, and that was like one of the biggest things that ever came out of a CD I listened to. Right, the guy said, if you want something bad enough, you'll do what it takes to get there. And like, that hit so home to me, and I was like, yep, yep, I will. Like, again, if I want to go on vacation, I will eat hot dogs every freaking day just to make sure I have this. Like, I, gosh, that, you know, so it's key, guys. I hope you see the passion out of the two of us for like budgeting, because you know, we've seen, you know, we've talked about David's been so open with his past. Like, he had the bankruptcy thing, he had all of that, like, and then he turned and now he's like happier than crap. He's got a successful marriage, right? Like, I mean, everything was just, hey, you get to each other, and then like, you go, hey, I take money out of this aspect, like, here it is. And I'm not saying money's not always going to be a factor. Again, I have the highest amount of money I've ever had, and I'm still in this broke feeling. I'll get over it someday. And there's things, you know, that's what vacations are for. But
Well, I want to hit on two things you said there, Nick. One of the things you said was, if you want it bad enough, you'll do what it takes to get there. So, you know, if you watched us ever, you know that Nick and I both coached, and we coached together. And I don't know how many kids I said when they'd come to me with an excuse on why they couldn't come to an extra workout, or why they couldn't, you know, go and take 20 more minutes of batting practice or whatever it was. I'd be like, you know what? Everybody's got an excuse. If you want it, you'll do it. And that's really the bottom line. If you want it, you're going to do it. So if you want to be better, you're going to work to be better. And if you don't want to work, you're just never, you're just going to be where you are. And the other thing you really hit on, Nick, that, you know, I want everybody to realize is, if you come to Nick or I and you say, hey, I need help, you know, money's tight, I should have more than what I have, the very first thing we're going to tell you, what does your budget look like? Have you written it down? Because if you haven't done that step, we can't help you. The very first thing I tell the people, I did, like I said at the start of this, I did a financial consult for a friend a 3 weeks ago. First thing I told her, you need to write down your budget. Once you have your budget written down and all of your bills, let me know, and we'll sit down and look at it. Took her a day, get everything written down. We sat down and looked at it.
and she took it serious, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've done a few financial consults myself, like right, like with some friends, and I've done it enough to where it's like, all right, I tell my friends, hey, what's your budget look like? Well, I don't really know, like I want to physically see it because like they'll just start blabbing it off from their mouths, and I'm like, they'll say the things like car payment 200, rent 700. Hey, you're full of crap because nothing is like on the dot, right? Like I want exact change. I want to know the numbers because that $1.27 is going to go to a different spot, right? Like I mean, like oh, my insurance 50, like all these things are rounded, which is fine for an example, but like I want to know to the penny like where we're at. And so I've done it. I've done it where you can tell some people are serious, and so you're like, all right, hey, we'll sit and we'll write a budget right there together, right? Like I'll tell them pull up your bank account, like I'll make them comfortable. I'll show up. I'll show them one of my bank accounts and go here. Look, you can see how much money I have or don't have. I don't really care. I have nothing to hide. So pull up your bank account. Let's figure this out. You're already coming to me telling me you're broke. I already know you're broke. Like, don't. I'm not going to judge you, right? Like, or if you have, there's people that have 10 grand that think they're broke, right? Like, if you have it, that's fine. Like, let's figure out how to make that 10 grand look like 100. Um, so but and I've told right, so I've done the same thing, and so the person be like, all right, I'll go work on a budget, and I don't ever hear back from them, right? That's fine. Like I'm okay with it. Like I can't force you to be successful. I can beg you. I'm not going to, right? But like I can't. If you ask me, hey Nick, will you sit and write one with me? Because I don't really know how. I will be like, perfect. At least you're honest. Like, dude, all right, the first comes out, you write your landlord or your mortgage. Like, cool. Like, we'll write this out. All right. What things do you pay monthly? Like, we'll write everything out. Like, hey, you have a Netflix, and like we write like everything that comes out of their bank account, guaranteed that they know of. We write it down, right? And then I'm like, okay, now we pull up your bank account and we go, all right, so you've been to McDonald's, you've been to Starbucks, you've been to Starbucks. Everybody gives coffee a bad name, but like, I really have a buddy that like he went to, or I think it was Big B. Like, dude, my best man speech for him was, I've never met anybody that can drink a Monster and drink two Big B like quadruple shots and then go take a nap. Like, so, but like we're talking about it. It's just like, this is all right, man. Like, if you want this, you're gonna have to cut it somewhere else. Like, I'm okay with you wanting coffee, man. Like, I don't really care. But if you want, you got to figure out what your wants are. So,
Yeah, and we all have those conversations, when we're looking to trim money here, one of the things Dawn liked to do, she doesn't like Starbucks or Big B really, but for a while, Speedway had those gourmet coffee stations,
yep.
and she would go and, she took a reusable cup. So, she'd spend less, but she's spending, like $1.50 on a coffee every day. And I finally said to her, I'm like, why don't you just get a freaking coffee cup and make your own damn coffee at home? And then you're not spending, $1.50 a day on coffee. And she's like, you're right. I probably should do that. And that's what she does now.
Well, so and guys, yes, coffee happens to be more of a woman's thing. I'm, but right. So my wife is a Big B Starbucks thing, and back then, and she doesn't really know it. But I was like, hey, why don't you make coffee at home? And she's like, well, it's already made for me, and I don't have to do anything. So that turned into a me problem, right? Like I took that as I want to help my wife, so I would get up and make her that coffee, right? Because like she wants it to be prepared and ready. Like, yes, sometimes it was the flavor and exactly what she wanted, but like I would get up and then we got a Keurig, so now like she has no excuse. But like I would get up, put the stupid thing in, like mix it up, do whatever, and just go, here's your coffee. Like I only did it a few times. It wasn't like I did it constantly, but I was like, if that's what you want is for somebody to make it for you, I will be that somebody to save that kind of money because what else am I doing? You know, I want my wife to be successful. She's not financially the same as I am. I don't force her to be. I sometimes get frustrated because like I want her to want that, but like again, she has different dreams than I do, but she supports she supports what my dream is, and my dream is to have my things, right? So um sometimes guys, women, the same thing, right? Like if your husband is the coffee person, make them the coffee, right? If your husband's the one that constantly wants to go out to eat, because I am that husband, it takes that wife to make the dinner, right? I mean, yes, it's going to get tiring after a while and say, I'm the one that always makes dinner. And you're going to go, and you have two choices at that point, right? You either go back to out to eat, or the husband will start helping type thing, right? Like my wife, I constantly, hey, do you want me to set the cake up in the stupid thing for the morning? No, I can get it. Because, it's fine. Like every Christmas I buy her K-Cups. I go buy like these, I don't know, 24 pack things. So I'm like, all right, I buy like 4 of them. And I'm like, you have 4 months worth of coffee. It's a guarantee. Like even at that, like let's say I bought 2 of them, right? That's 48 days. You have 2 months worth that you have no excuses to go out and buy coffee, because it's just push and go, and then go get dressed and your coffee will be ready when you're done. So, or, if I have to get up, that's fine. Look around and see what you're not doing to help the other person in your life be successful.
Yeah, we all have something we can compliment to the other one. And I think we hit a lot of good stuff here. Just to kind of wrap it up, budgeting is very important. Please do it. If you need help, reach out, because we're here and we'd love to help.
Even if it's not us, I mean, find somebody in your life that you think is financially successful, and they will probably have a budget
and probably be willing to help you. I want to thank Pigeon Hill and Atwater for awesome beers. It'd be better if they gave them to me for nothing, but what can you do, Nick?
I say Ale Asylum. Your Oktoberfest is actually really good. I've had a few tonight. Thank you to my brother for supporting me. It means a lot to me that he watches these and supports the beer aspect of it. Like always, right? Like, subscribe, share, hit the little bell thing, right? If you're listening to this on a podcast, right, subscribe to it, because we're trying to grow that now that we're officially Bucks and Brews. David, high five right here. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to us while we're still a small company, because someday we're going to grow to be this big, massive thing and have to hire people to answer those questions. So take care, guys. I hope you learned a lot tonight.
We'll see you back next week with a new one.